When I talk about the noise of the mind, many people know exactly what I mean. I have seen it for decades in people from all walks of life. It is that constant inner voice that never stops, a voice that keeps analyzing, judging, worrying, and replaying situations again and again. The mind keeps talking even when the body is still, and if the mind is not guided, it slowly starts controlling every decision we make. These endless inner conversations consume most of our mental energy. Thoughts jump from one worry to another, memories of past mistakes, fears about the future, and imaginary situations that rarely happen. I have learned that when the mind has no clear direction, it naturally becomes messy and scattered. Constant worries turn into an invisible burden. They are not always big problems. Many times they are small doubts repeated thousands of times, but their combined effect is powerful. They slowly destroy confidence, weaken motivation, and create constant inner tension. Fear plays a major role in this mental noise. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not being good enough, fear of making mistakes again. These fears are often not logical, but when repeated in the mind, they start to feel real. And when the mind believes something is real, the body reacts as if it truly is. The what if thoughts are the most subtle form of mental noise. What if it doesn't work? What if I lose what I have? What if I am not capable? These questions do not look for solutions. They only keep the mind going in circles. A mind full of what if rarely moves forward with confidence. Slowly, this noise fills every corner of the mind. There is no space left for clarity, creativity, or focused action. Even simple decisions start to feel difficult. The person feels mentally tired, even without physical effort. Without realizing it, we enter a repetitive mental cycle. We think the same way every day, react the same way, and get the same results. This cycle drains energy and creates confusion. A person feels mentally busy but is not moving forward in what truly matters. In many cases, mental noise leads to complete paralysis. The person wants to move forward, knows what should be done, but cannot take action. I have learned that this is not a lack of ability. It is an excess of disorganized thinking. That is why mastering the mind is not optional. It is the first step toward a clear, productive, and truly successful life. We live in a world full of distractions and endless demands. I have seen talented people feel exhausted without knowing why. Screens, messages, responsibilities, and expectations constantly fight for attention. The mind rarely experiences true silence. It has been trained to react, not to reflect. When the mind lives in a constant reactive mode, it loses the ability to think deeply and make conscious decisions. That is why I want to say something important. Learning to calm the mind is not a luxury. It is a necessity. It is not only for special moments or people with free time. It is a basic skill for anyone who wants balance, focus, and control over their life. When the mind is restless, even the best opportunities go unnoticed. I have observed that many people do not fail because they lack talent, but because they lack mental clarity. A confused mind sees problems where there are opportunities and obstacles where there are solutions. If you do not learn to direct your thinking will eventually direct your life. This means your emotions, habits, and decisions will be controlled by automatic impulses. Thinking without direction is like driving without a destination. You spend energy, but you never reach anything meaningful. Directing your thinking means learning to choose where you place your attention. The mind constantly produces ideas, images, and memories, but you can decide which ones to feed and which ones to let go. This daily choice is what separates a reactive life from a conscious life. True personal strength begins with mental clarity. It does not begin with physical strength or perfect external conditions. It begins with the ability to keep the mind calm and focused even under pressure. A clear mind is a powerful mind. When you develop mental clarity, everything else starts to fall into place. Decisions become simpler. Energy is used more effectively. Confidence grows naturally. I have seen that the person who masters their mind eventually masters their life. A disciplined mind works like a compass in the middle of chaos. This is one of the most important truths I have learned in my life. When everything around you feels unstable, when external conditions change and pressure increases, a disciplined mind is what allows you to stay on course with clarity and confidence. This is not about avoiding problems. That is impossible. Challenges are a natural part of life and growth. What truly matters is how you face them. A trained mind is not controlled by emotions in the moment. It responds with calm, analysis, and purpose. Serenity is not the absence of difficulties, it is the presence of inner control. When the mind is focused, problems stop looking like threats and start appearing as situations that can be managed. This ability to respond consciously is what separates average people from truly effective ones. Imagine for a moment that your mind is like a vast ocean. That ocean is never completely still. There is always movement and change. Expecting the mind to be silent all the time is unrealistic and unnecessary. Sometimes the ocean is calm and clear. In those moments, everything flows easily, decisions are quick, and confidence feels natural. But other times, waves of stress, pressure, and confusion rise strongly. This is where many people lose control. When the waves feel overwhelming, most people panic mentally. They react, complain, or freeze. A disciplined mind does not fight the ocean. It understands that movement is part of the process and focuses on staying steady, adjusting direction without losing balance. Success is not about stopping the ocean. That is beyond your control. No successful person lives without difficulties. True success is about developing the inner strength to not be carried away by external circumstances. Learning to stay steady when the waves are strong is a skill that is trained daily. When you discipline your mind, you gain emotional stability, clear thinking, and deep confidence. From this inner state, any goal becomes achievable even in the middle of chaos. I want to share simple, practical, and highly effective principles that I have taught for many years to both leaders and everyday people who want to improve their lives. I have learned that it is not complex ideas that create the biggest changes, but simple ideas that can be applied immediately and sustained over time. These principles do not come from theory, but from constant observation of human behavior and real results. I have seen them work across different cultures, environments, and levels of responsibility. When a person adopts them with commitment, their way of facing life begins to change naturally. Let me be very clear. These are not magic formulas. They do not promise instant results or effortless solutions. They are mental foundations that require practice, repetition, and daily awareness. That is exactly why they are so powerful. They create real and lasting results. These are mental habits that, when practiced daily, completely transform the way you think. And when your thinking changes, the way you interpret events, evaluate situations, and see your own abilities also changes. That internal shift directly shapes the way you make decisions. You begin to make clearer decisions, decisions that are aligned with your goals and less driven by fear or impulsive reactions. The mind stops reacting and starts leading. As a natural result, your actions also change. They become more consistent, more stable, and more intentional. You no longer act from confusion, but from clarity and purpose. The first principle is to accept reality as it is, without resistance. This is one of the hardest lessons to learn, but also one of the most freeing. Inner resistance consumes a huge amount of mental energy. When you stop fighting what you cannot change and accept the present moment as it is, the mind becomes lighter. From acceptance, you regain calm, clarity, and the ability to act intelligently. This is always the starting point of real transformation. Accepting reality does not mean giving up or settling. I want to be very clear about that. Throughout my career, I have learned that acceptance is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of emotional intelligence. It means seeing things as they truly are, without distorting them through excuses, wishes, or denial that only confuse the mind. Acceptance means honestly recognizing what cannot be changed right now. It does not mean approving what is happening or deciding to stay that way forever. It means starting from the truth. And the truth, even when uncomfortable, is always the strongest foundation for real progress. I have seen many people waste enormous mental energy fighting unavoidable facts. Talented individuals become stuck because they insist reality should be different instead of asking what they can do with what they have today. That constant struggle does not change facts. It only exhausts the mind. When a person resists internally, their thinking becomes rigid. Frustration, anger, and anxiety begin to dominate. Inner resistance is one of the greatest sources of stress because it keeps the mind in constant conflict with the present moment. A mind that fights reality cannot think clearly. It is too busy complaining, justifying, or regretting. That is why I always teach that acceptance is not passivity. It is strategy. It means stopping the waste of energy on what brings no results and investing it where it truly matters. When you stop fighting reality, something powerful happens. Inner tension decreases. Emotions become stable. Thinking becomes clearer. From acceptance, a new perspective is born. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin to ask, "What can I do from here?" That simple shift completely changes how you act and how you make decisions. When you accept what is, your mind becomes free and regains clarity to act better. You no longer react from stress. You respond with intelligence. From that state of calm awareness, you always have more control over your life and over the results you choose to create. Think about how many times you have felt frustrated over something that already happened, or a situation that did not go as planned. I have seen this pattern in all kinds of people. They mentally replay the past, analyzing what they could have said or done differently. Without realizing it, they get trapped in an inner conversation that leads nowhere. That inner friction does not change facts. It only increases emotional exhaustion. Nothing you think today can change what already happened, but it can deeply affect how you feel right now. When the mind keeps resisting the past, it creates tension, fatigue, and constant inner struggle. I have learned that most human suffering does not come from events themselves, but from mental resistance to accepting them. The mind becomes exhausted trying to fix what cannot be undone, and that useless effort steals energy that could be used to move forward. When you accept what is happening, something settles inside you. Your breathing becomes deeper, the body relaxes, the mind stops running in circles. From this inner calm, thinking becomes clearer and more objective. The best decisions are made from calm, not from emotional reaction. I have always taught that a calm mind is a powerful mind. It can evaluate options, anticipate consequences, and choose wisely. Acceptance does not mean you like what is happening or that you stop improving your situation. It means you stop wasting emotional energy denying reality. When you stop fighting reality, you regain the inner control that stress had taken away. I have seen that the most effective people are not those who never face problems, but those who quickly accept what is happening and immediately focus on solutions. That ability creates a massive difference in the results they achieve throughout life. Acceptance does not take power away from you. It gives it back. It restores clarity, focus, and control over your decisions. When you operate from this mental state, you stop being a victim of circumstances and start becoming the true architect of your destiny. The second principle is training your mind to live in the present moment. Throughout my career, I have seen how powerful this skill is. Being present is not a philosophical idea. It is a practical discipline that can be trained every day. Most people suffer unnecessarily because their mind is trapped between the past and the future. Some constantly relive mistakes, decisions, or words that can no longer be changed. Others mentally jump ahead to negative scenarios that may never happen. In both cases, the mind leaves the only place where effective action is possible. When the mind is stuck in the past, guilt, regret, and self-criticism appear. When it constantly lives in the future, anxiety, fear, and uncertainty take over. None of these emotions improve performance. They weaken focus and drain energy. Over time, this mental habit becomes automatic. I have seen highly capable people waste their potential simply because they are never fully present. Their body is here, but their mind is somewhere else. Yet the only moment where you have real control is now. Only in the present moment can you decide, act, correct, and move forward. Thoughts about the past or future have no power unless they turn into conscious action right now. The present moment is the point of power. It is where habits are built, decisions are made, and steps are taken that, over time, create extraordinary results. When you return to the present moment again and again, you regain emotional stability and mental clarity. Training the mind to live in the present means observing your thoughts without being carried away by them. It means gently bringing your attention back to the present whenever you notice your mind drifting. This practice strengthens self-control and inner calm. When you learn to fully live in the now, you discover something essential. Peace is not found in fixing the entire future or correcting the past. Peace comes from doing your best with what is in front of you, right here and right now. From this state, progress becomes natural. When your attention is fully focused on what you are doing in this moment, mental noise begins to fade. There is no space for anxiety when the mind is truly present. This practice requires discipline, but the results are powerful. A present mind is more productive, calmer, and more effective. Another essential habit is emotional detachment. This does not mean becoming cold or indifferent. It means not allowing your well-being to depend entirely on external outcomes. You can care deeply, love fully, and work with intensity without becoming emotionally trapped by results you cannot control. Detachment creates inner stability. I have seen how excessive attachment produces constant fear: fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of change. When you understand that everything in life is temporary, the mind relaxes. You learn to value what you have without living in constant anxiety about keeping it. This inner freedom is one of the greatest sources of mental calm. A fourth powerful habit is daily reflection. At the end of each day, take a few minutes to honestly evaluate yourself. Ask what you did well, what you can improve, and what you learned. This practice organizes the mind, reduces inner noise, and strengthens self-discipline. Clarity grows from conscious self-evaluation. Daily reflection is not about judging yourself. It is about growth. When you review your day objectively, you begin to notice patterns of thought and behavior that create stress. At the same time, you recognize your progress. This creates emotional balance and a sense of inner control that deeply calms the mind. Another key principle is learning to control your thoughts instead of allowing them to control you. Throughout my career, I have seen that this is one of the most important skills for personal and professional success. Many people live on automatic reactions without realizing they have given up inner control. Events themselves do not determine how you feel. What truly creates your emotions is how you think about those events. Two people can face the same situation and experience completely different results simply because they interpret reality differently. That is where real power lives. When you learn to question negative thoughts, you begin to break mental patterns that have limited you for years. Instead of accepting every thought as absolute truth, you start asking whether that thought is useful, realistic, or constructive. That simple question changes everything. I have taught for decades that the goal is not to eliminate negative thoughts, but to consciously replace them with more helpful interpretations. When you change the way you talk to yourself, you change the way you feel. And when you change how you feel, you change how you act. Your mind is like a garden. If you do not care for it, weeds grow on their own. No one has to teach you to doubt yourself, to fear, or to criticize yourself. Those thoughts appear automatically without mental discipline. Thoughts of fear, doubt, and self-criticism arise without permission. If they are not managed, they begin to control behavior. I have seen intelligent people sabotage themselves again and again, not because they lack ability, but because they allow these thoughts to direct their decisions. With practice and conscious attention, you can guide your thinking toward ideas that strengthen you. You can train your mind to focus on solutions, lessons, and opportunities, even in difficult situations. This is a skill that is developed, not a talent you are born with. A trained mind is a powerful mind. When you take control of your inner dialogue, you stop being a slave to your emotions and become the architect of your experience. From that inner mastery, you begin to build a life with greater clarity, confidence, and lasting results. I also want you to understand the importance of intentional pauses during the day. Over the years, I have observed that many people live in a state of constant activity, never giving themselves permission to stop. This lack of pause is not productivity. It is accumulated mental exhaustion that eventually damages performance and clarity. Stopping for a few minutes, breathing deeply, and allowing mental silence is not wasting time. It is restoring energy. When you allow these moments of stillness, you give your mind the chance to reorganize itself. It is like pressing a reset button for your mind. These intentional pauses restore inner balance and reduce stress by stopping the constant rush of thoughts. When you pause consciously, your nervous system calms down and your body becomes more stable. From this state, decisions become clearer and less emotional. A rested mind focuses better, makes fewer mistakes, and responds with more creativity. This is not about working less. It is about working with a clear and present mind. Impulsive reactions come from mental exhaustion. Intelligent responses come from inner clarity. Gratitude is another powerful habit. When you train your mind to focus on what you already have, dissatisfaction begins to fade. You stop fighting reality and start appreciating it. Gratitude brings the mind back to balance. A grateful mind is a stable mind. Let go of the past. Holding on to old mistakes and memories drains your energy. You cannot change what already happened, but you can choose how it affects you now. Learn from the past, but do not live there. Forgiveness frees the mind. It is not weakness, it is strength. Calm does not come from the outside. It is built from within. When you stop fighting what was and discipline your thoughts, you regain control of your inner world. A focused, calm, and disciplined mind is a powerful mind. A clear mind is the foundation of a successful life.